Have you lived your whole life in the pain of your efforts not being seen? With the feeling that no matter what you do, it is never enough for others, and with the sensation of sometimes being left out. To the point of reaching the conclusion that you don't have to exhaust yourself to please others, because your efforts are never seen or recognized and will always be minimized. Then, welcome to Connaissance de Soi. In this video, we are going to put words to a deep and often invisible wound, the wound of the insignificance of efforts. You will finally understand why you have lived with the impression that your efforts don't matter in the eyes of your loved ones, and above all, at the end of this video, you will leave with a clear direction to heal from this. First, we are going to try to change perspective with the following questions. Question 1. What if others have always seen and recognized all your efforts? Question 2. What if this painful impression you have felt your whole life was actually, each time, a call? A call to look at things differently and to truly meet yourself. Pause the video and take a moment to let these questions resonate within you. The first essential thing to understand is that the way you perceive the outside world often reflects what is happening inside you. If, around you, you feel that your efforts are never sufficient or recognized, it is not by accident. It comes from the fact that, somewhere inside you, you deeply feel that what you do is not yet enough, even if, consciously, you think the opposite. And if this pattern repeats, it is not to punish you, but to lead you to look at the origin of this feeling within you. What is this origin? Do you remember the first time you felt this insignificance? Do you remember the first situation that made you feel that? That situation in which you gave everything, you improved yourself again and again to give a better result. But in the end, after having belittled your efforts, they preferred something else over what you were offering. It may have been your father who never appreciated what you did and always found something to criticize. It may have been your partner who criticized everything you did and made you believe that you were not enough as you are. It may have been an aunt, a friend, or a brother who always preferred something else over what you were fighting to bring. This situation may have happened several times over a long period, when you were a child or as an adult, or it may have happened only once. But it marked you deeply, to the point of leading you to the conclusion that no matter what you do, it is never enough. And you continue to believe it to this day. That is why you still repeat it to yourself very often. The situation in which your efforts were not valued as they should have happened a long time ago. But unconsciously, you stayed there. Your subconscious, to protect you from the painful feeling of, I do a lot, but it is never enough, kept this feeling in memory and developed protection mechanisms. These mechanisms are still acting on you today. That is why the pattern continues to repeat. And that is also why everything you have done until now for your efforts to be seen and recognized has often produced the opposite effect, without you being aware of it, thus maintaining this persistent impression that you continue to feel. What are the protection mechanisms your subconscious has put in place and how do they act? 1. You will concentrate effort where it is the least emotionally risky. The subconscious says to itself, unconsciously, if I make efforts where people can't judge me too much, I will suffer less. In other words, if I act where I can solve a problem entirely, my effort will be enough. People won't have to complain or downplay my effort. Your mind then focuses on problems whose complete resolution is within your reach and avoids everything you cannot solve entirely. You think a lot, prepare a lot, anticipate, check, and solve these problems. But these are most often secondary problems and therefore somewhat negligible compared to the bigger problems. Your subconscious, by trying to protect you, makes you not realize that your effort applied to the bigger problem, even if it does not resolve it completely, will reduce a more important burden. A burden that remains entirely on others, who in the end perceive your efforts little or do not perceive them at all. In addition, the fact that the big burden falls on others makes them understand that there are types of difficulties in which they cannot count on you, which reinforces in you the impression that your efforts are insignificant. 2. You will avoid clear and decisive actions. Your subconscious associates straightforward action with danger. It says, if I commit clearly and it's not enough, the pain will be too strong. In other words, if nothing is expected from me, people will not ask more of me than I can give. And this becomes second nature for you. You act cautiously, you move forward in small steps, you avoid taking a firm position, because for your subconscious, if the action is not total, the rejection is less violent. You cannot say exactly what can be expected of you when you need to participate in something. For example, during teamwork, you say you will lend a hand, without specifying what you will concretely do, nor how far your commitment goes, which makes others think you are not very involved. In a project or an activity, you avoid clearly announcing what you can deliver or by when, for fear that people will expect more afterward, which gives the impression that you lack reliability. In everyday life or relationships, when someone asks for your help, you respond vaguely, "I'll see," or "I'll do what I can," in order not to create a precise expectation, but this leads others to underestimate your real investment and not to count on you. It is not due to a lack of goodwill, but because your subconscious is trying to protect you. By staying vague about your commitment, it avoids creating expectations that could revive the fear of not being good enough. However, this protective strategy can lead others to perceive your involvement as limited, even though you are making real efforts. Little by little, this gap settles between what you experience internally and what others perceive, reinforcing the feeling that your efforts are not fully recognized. 3. Getting emotionally tired rather than acting more. By holding back, anticipating, and monitoring yourself internally, you spend a lot of energy even before taking action. Your subconscious mobilizes a large part of your resources to avoid error, criticism, or rejection. Internally, you therefore have the sensation of giving a lot, sometimes even too much. Faced with this internal exhaustion, your subconscious tries again to protect you. It says, "I am already emotionally drained, I can't do more without putting myself in danger." To preserve what energy remains, it slows down external action. You postpone, reduce your visible involvement, or stop before going further. From the outside, it can look like you're easing off or lacking motivation, while in reality you are already tired from constant and invisible internal effort. This strategy protects you from total emotional burnout, but it also reinforces the gap between what you feel you have given and what others perceive of your investment. 4. Telling yourself that others don't see my efforts. This belief protects self-esteem. The problem isn't me, it's that they don't see. This avoids inner collapse, but prevents adjusting visible actions. Your subconscious protects you by trying to maintain an acceptable image of yourself. When this gap becomes too painful, your subconscious sets up one last essential protection for your inner balance, an explanation that preserves your self-esteem. It says, "The problem is not that I'm not doing enough, it's that others don't see everything I do." This belief allows you to avoid an inner collapse. It prevents you from concluding that your efforts have no value or that you are incapable. It maintains an image of yourself that is acceptable and emotionally bearable. However, by reassuring you this way, your subconscious also prevents you from adjusting your actions in the outside world. Since the cause of the problem is attributed to others' perception, There is no longer momentum to make your efforts more visible, clearer, or more concrete. The circle is maintained. You continue to do a lot internally, while others continue to perceive little. 5. You will put all your energy into doing well, not into making it visible. Your subconscious has learned to associate personal value with the impeccable quality of what you do. It says, if it is done well enough, if it is perfect inside, it will compensate for everything else. Thus, a large part of your energy is invested in details, preparation, continuous improvement, and checking. You may redo things several times, adjust, refine, and sometimes even doubt for a long time before daring to show what you have done. All of this represents a real, deep, and sincere effort. However, while you are perfecting, visible action is delayed. What others then perceive is not your intentions nor your inner standards, but delays, few concrete results, or an impression of irregularity. They do not see the behind-the-scenes work, only what is presented, and sometimes presented too late. By postponing the moment of showing, your subconscious protects you. As long as it is not exposed, it cannot be criticized. But this protection has a cost. It reinforces the idea that you are not fully committed, whereas your investment is intense, but invisible. 6. Minimizing your actions once they are done. Even when you take action and accomplish something, your subconscious continues to protect you. It anticipates others' gaze and says, if I say it's not a big deal, the disappointment will hurt less if it isn't recognized. So, you talk little about what you accomplished. You minimize your results, you downplay your efforts, sometimes you even slightly devalue yourself, as if to get ahead of it. After accomplishing a task, you may say, I did what I could, or, it's not the best, but it's something. By minimizing your efforts in front of others, you try to limit the pain of hearing it from someone else. This posture gives you the impression of keeping emotional control. If recognition doesn't come, you already expected it. But what your subconscious is trying to cushion internally is also what others hear externally. Receiving this message, they take your words literally and give less importance to what you did. This strategy protects you from direct disappointment, but it maintains the feeling that your actions matter little, reinforcing even more the gap between the real value of your efforts and the recognition you receive. And even when you are with people you are aware appreciate your efforts, you only give the minimum you can bring. Because you continue to tell yourself, even if I give everything, it won't be seen. And over time, you don't even know what the normal amount is to give and bring to others, so much you continue unconsciously to feel taken advantage of. If you recognized yourself in the actions listed, know that you vibrate the insignificance of your efforts. It is a wound you have carried unconsciously until now. Everything we have seen, concentrating effort where it is the least emotionally risky, avoiding clear actions, getting emotionally tired, convincing yourself that others don't see your efforts, focusing energy on doing well rather than making it visible, and minimizing your actions had a reason. Your subconscious was trying to protect you from pain, criticism, or disappointment. These mechanisms were useful at some point, but over time, they created a gap between what you feel you have given and what others perceive. Your efforts often remain invisible, your sincere intentions are misinterpreted, and that fuels the feeling that you are never enough. Becoming aware of these mechanisms is the first step to getting out of this circle. Gently, you can learn to align your inner world and your outer world, so that what you do is both authentic, recognized, and a source of satisfaction for yourself. So what will you need to learn to do starting today to heal from this wound? 1. Dare to invest where discomfort is real. The first essential thing to learn today is to accept the discomfort linked to big challenges, and to realize that your subconscious prefers what is entirely controllable, what can be finished without risk, not because those things are more important, but because they are emotionally safer. What you need to understand is that big challenges are never solved completely in one go, and that a partial contribution to a meaningful problem, even if it seems small in your eyes, already has real and great value. It considerably relieves others' burden, while showing them that you are with them in the situation and that they can count on you. You do not need to be perfect nor to solve everything entirely for your effort to be visible and for you to be seen as useful. Contribution is worth as much as perfect resolution. Even a beginning, even an incomplete effort, can move a complex situation forward. You need to learn to check the real priority of a problem before investing your energy in it. You will then get involved where it is most important in the moment. Your efforts will become visible where they truly matter and others will notice. You will dare to get involved where you don't master everything, without waiting to have a perfect solution. And progressively, you will become able to commit to important matters, even in uncertainty. 2. Commit clearly, to the level of what you can. The second fundamental learning is to learn again to commit clearly to the level of what you can, without fear. The key is to do what you say, and to understand that today what you bring is enough. Learning to commit means defining precisely what you can do and how far you can go. It means daring to express your limits and your involvement, even if it is scary at first. Say what you will do, when you will do it, and stick to it. For example, I will give you my feedback on the document tomorrow at 5 p.m. I will contribute up to €10. This helps make your efforts visible and understandable to others. When your commitment becomes clear and measurable, you no longer end up with the feeling of giving a lot without recognition, because your investment is visible and readable. 3. Manage your emotional energy rather than exhaust yourself. The third essential point is to learn to manage your emotional energy. Facing important issues requires inner endurance. If you try to carry everything at full intensity all the time, you end up exhausted or shut down. Learning to act sustainably means recognizing signs of emotional fatigue and allowing yourself to slow down consciously. It means breaking important actions or big projects into realistic small steps, rather than trying to solve everything at once. It also means accepting that your effort has value even when you are not at your maximum. When you respect your energy, you become more consistent in action. You stay engaged without burning out, and your impact becomes more stable and more visible over time. 4. Reprogram the belief, others don't see. A lot of suffering comes from this silent belief, others don't see what I do. But others' perception rarely depends only on your effort. It also depends on what you show, what you say, and how you explain your intention. Learning this means understanding that you can influence external perception. By clearly communicating your efforts, your intentions, and your results, you regain power. You no longer wait for others to guess what you do. Openly express what you did and why it matters, instead of assuming others should see it. And above all, learn to congratulate yourself, even when external recognition is slow. This inner validation soothes frustration and allows you to stay engaged without shutting down. 5. Put your energy into making it visible, not only into doing it well. The fifth learning is often the most uncomfortable, accepting that invisible work is not always recognized. Doing well, in silence, hoping it will be seen, often leads to disappointment. You need to learn to value and present your work, even if it is not perfect in your eyes. You also need to learn to accept that visible action, even imperfect, has value. You will see that progressively, your efforts will stop being invisible. They begin to exist in others' eyes and in yours. 6. Recognize and value your actions. Finally, the last point, perhaps the deepest, is to recognize and value what you do. Give yourself the right to say, "I did this, and it matters." Without shame, without minimizing yourself, without apologizing for existing. Reduce self-devaluation by maintaining a positive inner discourse after your actions. Instead of saying, "I did what I could," say rather, "I was able to do it." This inner transformation naturally changes the way others perceive you. So, in reality, the problem was never that you don't do enough. You do a lot. You think, you feel, you commit internally. But your subconscious learned to protect you by directing your effort where emotional risk is lowest, where you are sure you will not be judged. Today, the challenge is therefore not to force yourself, nor to become someone else. The challenge is to accept imperfection, to contribute without mastering everything, to make visible what you already do, even partially. When you commit clearly, when you respect your energy, when you communicate your effort and recognize it yourself, something rebalances. What you do inside finally begins to exist outside. Crossing this fear, gently, consciously, is reclaiming your rightful place. Not by doing more, but by doing where it truly matters. If this video spoke to you, leave a comment. And tell us also where you need more clarity right now. Like, subscribe, and share it with those who like you, are seeking more inner clarity.